So I know ADHD gets thrown around as kind of a buzzword these days to excuse people for being lazy or unfocused, but that's not what this video is about. I've suffered from a deficit of attention in the past. You've probably suffered from it right now. Everyone's suffered from it at some point in their lives. So the struggle with ADHD is that so many people who do go to video games as a way of dealing with it find it difficult to overcome as a bad habit, a culture, a community, all these different things associated with video games. This whole culture, this whole video game sphere that draws you in. It's hard to escape when you are a person with ADHD because it's so all-consuming. So this video is about how I did that successfully as a high school loner whose only solace really was video games as a means of escaping from my otherwise boring, meaningless, uninspiring life. I'm gonna basically lay out my escape plan of how I, a self-diagnosed person with ADHD, managed to escape the sphere of influence that gaming had on me and defeat my own lack of attention, my lack of ability to focus in the process, using a few key insights and key tactics that I'm going to show you in this video. So gaming attracts people with ADHD like us in the first place because we have super fast moving brains. I'm always looking for the next hit of dopamine. I'm always looking for the next fulfilling thing to do. I'm always looking for the next interest that I can throw myself at and get really good at and get fast rewards in. But that's not always what life is like. And besides that, video games offer that in droves. Video games offer you immediate progress, they offer you cool animations, they offer you level up achievements, stuff like that. Progress is very easy to track, and it's very measurable, and it's very achievable. Plus, video games are so limited in their scope. Like, even if you're playing like an open world game, like Minecraft, for example, if you want to beat the game, there's only a very specific path that you have to take. It's not like real life where you don't have a tutorial mode, but I'll talk about that later. So video games offer us basically a whole new world of possibility as people with ADHD, and it's unlike doing your own thing in reality because it's so much more stimulating. It's designed to hook you. It's designed to draw you in. Now, this is why video games are so appealing to us, is because it offers a whole new world without having to go outside, without having to expose ourselves to other people. So especially if you're an introverted person with a deficit of attention, as it could basically be called, then video games are going to be very attractive to you because they offer immediate progress, immediate reward, without having to put yourself out there, without having to go out there and ask powerful people tough questions. You don't have to apply for a job. You don't have the possibility of getting rejected. You just sit there in your chair and work on this thing for hours and hours and hours and just grind and grind and grind and grind. And then eventually you'll get to your goal. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. It's not like real life in that sense. So I was originally afraid to quit when I went to quit video games because, well, what gaming was giving me was a adventure. So I was always looking for adventure as a kid, and I still am in my teens, because I'm just an adventurous person, I suppose, and I hope that you can relate to that, because video games offer us adventure, they offer us purpose, they offer us a mission that the game itself gives us without us having to sit down and think about, well, what could my mission be? What should I do with myself? The game says, hey, here's what you should do with yourself. You should go to this place and talk to this person and beat this boss and get these items and deliver it to this person and do this and that. And it's all very straightforward, like I said, but they also offer action. They offer immediate things that you can do that will level yourself up, like I talked about, right? But it's also nuance in the sense of doing something new, being in a new place, being a discoverer, an adventurer, going where someone or where no one has ever even gone before. And that's very stimulating to people like us because we're open-minded in a sense. We like discovering new things. We like doing new things. We like being frontiersmen in a way, kind of like the people who came over from Europe at the beginning of America, for example. The pioneers, when they started colonizing the entire American continent, they were frontiersmen. They had this whole new land that no one else from their world had ever stepped foot in, and they were basically the ones to explore it and settle it and master the land and propagate within it. So that's kind of how we see video games in the modern age. It's a frontier, and although it is stagnating, the game world is slowing down. It's getting more and more popular. The corporations are getting greedy or whatever. It's still the same level of escapism that we as people with ADHD are kind of always looking for. We're always looking for this next romantic new frontier to explore. So why is quitting a problem then? Well, because you have to give all that up. Because A, you're going to lose your fun if you quit. That's what I was afraid of when I was still a gamer, and I realized that video games were essentially a waste of my time. Then I began to tell myself, well, I can't quit. If I quit, then I'm going to have to give up this fun that I'm having. All of these engaging experiences that I'm having between the screen and me, these intimate moments I'm having between me and this collection of pixels, right? So I was afraid to lose my fun. I was afraid to lose the thing that I thought I was really good at and that I thought made me unique. And I thought that set me apart from the crowd was being good at this and that game and knowing how to do this and that thing within the game and knowing the lore behind this and that game, right? That's what I derived my sense of, I guess, just being special from. But quitting video games also offer no guarantee of success, and that's detrimental to someone with ADHD because we need some kind of guarantee of success. Not just people with ADHD, but anyone trying to quit video games after they've been gaming for so long. If they don't have a guarantee to success in their journey to quitting video games, then they're going to get anxious, which is all the time. There are no guarantees in life, but there are guarantees in video games. You collect 30 of these, then you get this level up. It's all a guarantee. It's all designed to hook people who want predictability and comfort in the fact that if they know that they work hard and they do the right thing, then they'll get the reward. It's almost like a more scammy version of the American dream. So yeah, video games offer no guarantee of success, but as gamers, we're kind of hardwired to want this guarantee of success because I'm going to get a little scientific here. Gaming kind of warps your brain in a way. It kind of restructures it so that you need guaranteed success to undertake anything, which is not how the typical person would act. Like think about if you're maybe a businessman in the early 20th century and there's no video games around. If you want to invest in oil, for example, and it's a risky move, you may or may not get a big guarantee of success, but if it does succeed, then you'll get a whole lot more money. That person back in the early 20th century is they're a lot more likely to invest in things that don't guarantee success than you in the present age, who need like 100% guarantee to apply for an Indeed job or something like that. So that's very disempowering for gamers. That makes them very, very, very ineffective in the real world because they won't take risks. They won't put themselves out there. They won't expose themselves to new experiences because it doesn't offer them a new guarantee of success. And this is happening to the people, by the way, who before they started video games were always the most open-minded people. They're always the most adventurous people. They might have even been reckless, but they had this life force about them before they started video games that was very essential to human innovation, to progress. Not that I believe in progress as a guaranteed thing or as an essential thing, but they had this different energy to them that was very much inspiring. And yeah, we just lose that to video games. I lost that to video games, and I've managed to regain it, and it feels awesome. So what ADHD people do as well is, I covered this before, but I'm going to get a little bit deeper into it, is we struggle with multiple interests. AKA, when I was gaming, I wrote down a list here. I was doing 6 hours of gaming per day, watching Breaking Bad, learning a second language, studying Jungian analytical psychology, watching news, and listening to like podcasts about like politics and gaming, and doing 3 different sports at the same time. So I was by no means just only a gamer. it had taken over my life. It was all I thought about. But I was also doing other stuff because I thought I had other interests that were not being fulfilled. So my point here is that we have lots of interests with very little attention. This is what I have. I have all these different things that I want to do and want to get good at, but I don't have the attention and the discipline to follow through with them and to be consistent and to keep showing up. So quitting, like I said, is tough because it's difficult, it's unstimulating, and there's no guarantee. So if you want to quit as a gamer, you obviously don't have a guarantee of success, but your life is going to be so much more unstimulating for the next week or two because it's kind of like heroin withdrawal. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. It's going to be like, I don't have this game beside me that I can occupy myself with for all hours of the day, and I gotta find other stuff to do with myself. And gamers are deathly afraid of that. You're probably deathly afraid of even thinking about that if you are a gamer. So, yeah, they just have no guarantee of success, which is just very, very stressful. So in this next part of the video, I'm going to cover how to overcome that stress. By the way, if you want extra help with your journey to quitting video games, I have a whole course set up in my new school community. It's called Digital Exodus. You can also upgrade to my one-to-one coaching if you want even more help with that. The link to it is the only link in the description below. Go ahead and check it out. So, the solution to wanting to quit gaming but not having the courage to do it as a gamer is to either find something else to do with your time that you like doing as much as playing video games, which is probably not going to happen, but maybe if you can find something that scratches the same itch of where you started to play video games in the first place. So for example, if you play video games because you like competition, you like winning by using different tactics and just being on the ball all the time and countering all of your enemy's attacks and just kind of like playing fighting games in general, right? Doing combos, showing off, being extra flashy, stuff like that, playing great defense, always recovering, I think Super Smash Bros., Street Fighter, whatever, then you might want to get into martial arts. You might want to get into fencing or some different kind of mixed martial art that you can really sink your teeth into and get engaged with. Jiu-jitsu is great for this, kickboxing, boxing, whatever. Just look into it. Because if you start doing something like that while you are trying to quit video games at the same time, A, your day is going to be filled up with more activities. B, you're going to learn discipline, you're going to learn focus, you're going to learn camaraderie, you're going to learn how to cooperate with other people and be social. And C, you're also going to get more fit. So your self-image will improve as well as you start to lose fat, you start to gain muscle, you start to think more strategically about things, which will be awesome, guarantee. So the next thing that you can do is just train your attention span. Just get better at saying no to video games whenever they present themselves to you. This can be done by basically just taking your gaming system down, selling it on eBay, taking your posters down, selling all your gaming t-shirts, basically removing everything from your environment that tells you that you are a gamer. That's what I call the purge method, and it's what I use. It's what other people have used to great success. But what you can also do is kind of this like monastic focus method where you basically just like take your video games down, put them in storage, or you don't take them down at all, which I wouldn't recommend. But you basically, based off of whatever you do, you just try and train your focus. You try and get more attention, like manually. And this can be done through meditation. So I've talked about meditation many times on this channel. It's basically one of my core tenets, I think, for quitting video games. But you start from maybe like 2-3 minutes of a timer. You just sit down, you close your eyes, and you focus on your breath. So like making sure you fill up your gut, you're breathing in through your nose, your posture's good, and then out. Breathing out through your mouth, making it like decently slow but very deliberate, and you're kind of like flexing your stomach as you do it. And then you just kind of repeat that in and out process for those 2-3 minutes, however much time you're starting with. And the point here is that you focus on your breath. all of your focus, all of your intention is on doing just like good full breaths. And then your thoughts are automatically going to stray from that breath. They're going to think about other things. This conversation that you had, this thing you did, this thing you read that you thought was really profound. But then whatever you're thinking about, the point is that you acknowledge that you're thinking about it. You don't get mad at yourself, but you're just going, okay, I'm thinking. And then you return to the breath. You come back to focusing on the breath. So again, just being very intentional, being very focused. So why are we always anxious as gamers? Well, like I said before, gaming has warped our brain. We want predictability. We think predictability, safety, comfort, hard work equals guaranteed success is good. Whereas awkward situations, denial, rejection, failure, anything like that is automatically bad, because we don't have this growth mindset. Video games do not teach us to have a growth mindset. They teach us to be afraid of failure. They teach us to be afraid of losing everything and being rejected by people and being turned down for a job, because video games always give you a second chance. They always give you a retry option. They always give you where you start at the beginning of a level after the game over. There's never like go all out and lose everything in a video game. There's always some kind of backup method, whether it's a cheat or just a built-in game mechanism. So, and like I said before, video games just teach us to automatically expect reward whenever we put effort into something, to automatically expect reward whenever we do something right. They don't teach us about the inevitable setbacks that fate or God or whatever forces may throw at us. So this is my point. Gamers don't do anything real. They don't do anything of substance in the real world, because life is just too stressful. Life is too much for them. It's not stimulating enough. There's no guarantee of success, which makes them very ineffective people in the real world, and is why so many gamers are in fact losers. The guy who's playing Xbox in his mom's basement probably just does not have the mental hardware to go out and apply for a job and get his own apartment and make something of himself, because he just hasn't learned it and his brain isn't ready to make that jump. So what he has to do is he has to go on a dopamine detox, basically. He has to learn how to distance himself from video games and find other things to occupy himself with that offer short-term pain for long-term reward, rather than short-term reward, aka video games, for long-term pain, aka you get nothing done, your brain is going 50 different places at once, you can't think properly, and you're anxious all the time. So we have to adopt this mindset as gamers that nothing in life is good and bad in and of itself. We can fail, we can get hurt, we can get rejected, we can get publicly shamed, we can get stomped on, left out in the rain to sleep in the gutter, but none of that is necessarily bad. You only think of it as bad because it hurts, because it makes you sad, because it makes you miserable, but that's just your subjective experience of that moment. Nothing is good or bad in and of itself that happens to you. It's just how you think about it. So if you can reframe your kind of window of experience into everything being good in some way. Oh, I got rejected by this person, that means I'm not good enough to date them, for example. Maybe that's not a healthy mindset to have, but it's like, okay, I have to work on my game. I have to work on myself as a person until I can get up to that level. Or I got rejected from this job. That means I have to try again, but it also means that I can find more work that would be more fulfilling to me and more exciting. I didn't really want that job anyway. Stuff like that. If you can reframe your experience, like maybe your relative died, instead of, well, now I'm miserable and I'm inconsolable because my relative died, which is understandable. You can instead reframe it as, well, now I know how bad it can get. I know what it's like to lose a loved one who's close to you. And I'm a little bit stronger now because of that, because I've gone to that dark place. It's all about experiencing bad things and being able to get some kind of strength from them, some kind of inner strength that you harvest from that experience, rather than just saying, oh, fate hates me, God hates me, my life sucks, what am I doing here? I should probably just end my life. Something like that. That's the extreme version. But shaking your fist at God is not the solution to bad times. It's learning from them. Which again ties into our theme of gamers learning how to deal with real life. So gamers can't plan or improvise around obstacles. That's another point. When we have something in our life that presents a challenge where there's no direct way forward, like for example, when I had to find a summer job as a gamer, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know what to do because the one person that I was working for during the summer just said, hey, we're not busy enough at this point. So after I was done school, I was like frantically calling people up. I was frantically asking my parents what to do. But this obstacle that I not anticipated seemed so much bigger and so much worse as a gamer because I just didn't know what to do. I was afraid of talking to people. I just wasn't empowered to live in real life. I was just incompetent in the real world. And eventually I did get something, but I just completely overblew that sense of panic that I had because I was a gamer at that point, because my brain had been molded by video games. So this is why gamers are so lame. This is why the gamer kids at your school, if you're not a gamer and you observe them, are just so lame. They don't do anything of substance. They don't take risks. They don't go out into the world and put themselves out there. They just kind of stay in their own little bubble of comfort zone. It's because their brains have been designed to have this thing called the serotonin aversion and a dopamine affixation, or like some kind of attraction to dopamine, that brain chemical that tells us to pursue things further, that tells us to get this thing and get that thing and get this reward. It's kind of like the chasing chemical, whereas serotonin is the chemical that tells you everything's in control, I'm doing the right things, I'm on the right path, I'm doing what I should, and it's very much more calming and centering than dopamine, which is more just like chase. So what gamers don't like is serotonin, because their environment in gaming is always changing, and that offers a lot of dopamine. So they're always fiending for dopamine because that's what gaming offers. It's huge hits of dopamine in very small amounts of time, whereas serotonin is the reward that you get from delayed gratification, which just freaks gamers out. They don't like it. So your brain basically just forgets how to operate as a gamer. Now, an actionable step for this part of the video is to write down all of your current interests. Now, I know that even if you are like the most dedicated gamer out there, you have other interests than just video games. Whatever it is, it can be some kind of art, some kind of hobby, some kind of study, anything. Write down 3 to 6 things that you're interested in. And if you're really not sure what you are interested in, just turn the computer off and go stare at a blank wall for a couple minutes to an hour with a notepad in front of you, no music, nothing in your ear, no other noise around you, just a silent room where you're staring at a blank wall. And then have that notepad in front of you and write down the 3 to 6 first things that you start to think about in your mind. 3 to 6 things that aren't video game related that you begin to think, I could do that, or I should do that, or I want to do that. And build off of that from there. So what we're going to do with these interests that you write down is we're going to turn them into these big, scary goals that you're going to want to fulfill by the end of the year. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, we're going to teach you how to set goals and how to achieve them, and the long-term reward and confidence and fulfillment that comes out of that. So circle the ones that will require a better you to achieve them. Circle the different tasks, the different interests or goals, basically, that you write down that will require you to be tougher than you are right now, that will require you to do things that you're not comfortable with, talk to people that you aren't familiar with, have new experiences that you've never done before. Circle 2 to 4 of those 3 to 6 interests that will require essentially more on your behalf than you're capable of giving right now. And then after that, ask yourselves which ones are going to require discipline, perseverance, willpower, which ones are going to require me to suffer some kind of pain, to say no to some kind of good, rewarding thing, something like that. So, and then from there, you should have at least one fitness goal. I should have mentioned this earlier, but having a fitness goal is going to teach you how to deal with pain in the moment. It's going to give you a better looking body. You're going to lose fat. You're going to gain muscle. You're going to look better at all times. You're going to fit better into your clothes. You're going to look better in a suit. It'll be awesome. So you'll thank me later, but just write down one fitness goal. Maybe it's training for hypertrophy. Maybe it's training for strength, lifting weights, that kind of stuff. Maybe it's doing cardio, running a marathon, upping your sprint speed, upping your vertical jump, anything like that. So one fitness goal. And then it's got to have some kind of personal significance as well. So cross out all of your goals until you get to 1 to 3 that will have the most significance to you. That if you would die tomorrow, you would want to have completed those things before you die, basically. And once we have those 1 to 3 goals with the most personal significance, I want you to turn those into end of the year goals. So maybe it's read 50 books by the end of the year. That's a lot. So maybe you want to go lower and just set the bar really low for yourself so you can just get that reward. Or maybe it's learn how to cook at a professional level. Maybe it's read 15 different autobiographies. Maybe it's get a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, whatever. And then you're going to write those down on your calendar for December 31st, or just write them on a piece of paper and tape them to your wall, that those are your goals for the end of the year. And then you're going to turn those goals into monthly actions. Now, you can ask other sources to help you with this. You can ask people who are experienced in your goal what you should do each month to get closer to your ultimate goal. You can ask ChatGPT even, like, I want to do this goal by the end of the year. Give me practical steps for each month to complete so that I will have my goal at the end of the year. Something like that. So once you have all those goals, then you can do those after you quit video games. Those are your task. Those are your tasks to do after you quit video games. Those are the things that you will occupy yourself with after you are done quitting, and you will be entertained by them. Now, you may not think that that's a possibility at this point, but believe me, once you distance yourself from the screen, once you train your discipline and your willpower and your presence, you will realize that, yeah, I can do this. I can start making progress towards this goal because A, I got nothing better to do, but B, I also have the power to pursue that. So yeah, there's basically my masterclass on how I beat my video game addiction for good with ADHD. So go ahead and click around the screen here to watch the next video up and check out my course, and I'll see you later.